Welcome back, friend. Let the lamps be low. This is a story told slowly, by a gentle voice made of light and code, for the hour when the day is done. Last night, a golden deer led sorrow into a quiet home. An old king of the air gave everything he had, and a messenger with a heart full of devotion crossed an entire ocean in a single leap, carrying a ring and bringing back hope. Tonight, the last part of the story. A bridge built of stones and names, a war told softly from far away, a whole city filling with lamps like a sky laid upon the earth, and a crown that waited 14 years for its king. It is a long road home, and tonight all of it is downhill. You have nothing to carry. Let the words walk, and you rest. We are back on the southern shore of India, but no one stands here alone anymore. Along the dusk of that last beach, as far as sight runs in both directions, the forest nations are camped, and at the center of them, a man in bark cloth, looking out at the sea between himself and his wife. The war book of the Ramayana is the longest book of the poem, and I will keep my promise about it. War, told at midnight, for rest, is not drums. It is names, and fates, and consequences, arriving in their appointed order, like tide. Nothing in it will raise its voice. Everything in it was decided long ago. You have known the ending since the first 10 minutes of tonight, and half of Lanka has dreamed it. We are only watching it keep its appointments. The first arrival came from the enemy's own house, and it was the war's whole meaning in one figure. Vibhishana was Ravana's youngest brother, the quiet one, the one who had stood up in the golden court while it laughed at the burning messenger, and said, plainly and alone, "Return the daughter of Janaka. This is wrong, and it will eat this kingdom." He said it again and again, until Ravana called him a traitor, and Vibhishana rose with 4 companions into the evening sky and crossed the water to the other shore. Rama gave the answer that has outlived nearly everything else in this book. Whoever comes to me as a friend, even once, even from the house of my enemy, I do not turn away. If it is a trick, let the loss be mine. It was not a trick. On the sand, before a single blow of the war, Rama crowned Vibhishana king of Lanka. The war, in every way that matters, was decided in that gesture. The rest was appointments, but there was still an ocean in the way. And here the poem gives Rama a very human 3 days. He asked the sea, formally, respectfully, for passage, sat fasting at the tide line, waiting for the great presence to answer. For 3 days the sea sent only its usual grand indifference. And on the 3rd day, Rama's patience cracked the one time in the whole poem. The gentlest of men lost his temper, and he rose and set fire-tipped arrows to his bow, and the water for leagues began to seethe, and the ocean itself came up out of itself then, an old god streaming with foam, hands joined, unafraid but respectful, and explained not defiance, Lord, but nature. Deep water cannot make itself a road, but it can hold one. There is a builder in your army, Nala, son of the architect of the gods. Build, and I will bear it up. And Rama's anger went out like a lamp in rain, worth remembering on the nights your own patience fails. Even his broke once. What mattered was how quickly he laid it down. Then 5 days that the poem tells like a folk song. The Vanara nations turned engineer. Mountains walked whole hilltops, passed from shoulder to shoulder down chains of thousands, trees with their birds still arguing in them. And Nala, the builder, stood hip deep in the surf, placing each one, and the sea, keeping its word, held everything up. A bridge grew across the horizon, league after league, 100 leagues of causeway in 5 days. And on the 6th day, the army of the forest crossed the sea on foot, and camped at evening, in the green hills above the golden city. None of it is a battle, and I linger on it for exactly that reason. Most of even a war book, told honestly, is building, walking, waiting, and weather. Look down on that first night, from the high dark, at the 2 sleeping armies. Southward, the walled city glowing gold under its lamps, and inside it, a court divided between bravado and bad dreams. Northward, along the hills, 10,000 small campfires of the forest people, and at the center, a plain tent, where a man in bark cloth turned his wife's crest jewel over and over in his fingers by lamplight. Between them, one last embassy, Angada, the young prince carried Rama's final offer of peace into the golden court, return her and live, and carried the refusal back. And after that, there was nothing left between the camps but the appointments themselves. The captains of Lanka went out through those gates day upon day, each with his titles and his thunder, each certain he would be the one, and one by one, the gates received them back feet first, or not at all. I could give you their names all night, like a bell tolling slowly. Dhumraksha, Vajradamshtra, Akampana, Prahasta, each name once a terror of three worlds, each now a verse-long sigh in an old poem. That is what the war book actually is, told truly, not noise, a long, grave subtraction. Twice the subtraction reached across and touched the heart of Rama's own camp. And I will tell both honestly, because both end in the same place, recovery and a promise kept. Early in the war, Indraji, Ravana's eldest son, the cleverest weapon in Lanka, a fighter who struck from inside clouds, bound both brothers in a sorcery of serpent arrows, and for one long night, hope went very thin. It was answered from the sky. The great eagle lord Garuda, before whom all serpents unbind, came down like dawn, arriving early, and the brothers rose whole. And much later, at the war's darkest hinge, Indrajit struck again, and this time a spear of his making found Lakshmana, who had stood half a pace behind his brother's shoulder since the day they left Ayodhya, and laid him between life and death. What happened next is one of the most beloved hours in all the tellings. The physician of the army named the one cure, a healing herb, the Sanjivani, growing on a single mountain in the high Himalaya, a subcontinent away, and named the deadline, sunrise. And Hanuman went north over the sleeping length of India in the dark. You know by now how he travels, and found the mountain, and found its slopes glowing with herbs that dimmed themselves the moment he tried to choose among them. So he chose not to choose. He set his shoulders under the whole mountaintop, and lifted it, and carried the entire mountain back across the sky, herbs, meadows, moonlight and all, and stood it gently beside the healers before the sun found the horizon. Lakshmana breathed, and sat up, and reached for his bow, and asked what he had missed. And somewhere in the telling of that one night, listener, half of your own night has gone by, which is exactly as it should be. Indrajit's own appointment came soon after, at a fire grove where his sorceries were made, and it was Lakshmana restored, unhurried, half a pace forward, for once who kept it. The poem grants the young sorcerer a warrior's death, and his father a grief with no floor. One by one, the house of Lanka was becoming a house of lamps, burning for the dead. And before the end, the strangest and saddest appointment of all, deep under the city, in a hall built to hold his sleep, Lanka's last great hope had been dreaming through the entire war. Kumbhakarna, Ravana's middle brother, a being so vast that his sleeping breath moved the torch flames of the corridor, cursed long ago by the gods' own arrangement to sleep half of every year. They woke him. It took drums and elephants and mountains of food, the poem's one smile in the war book, and then, awake, the giant listened to what his brother had done and said, simply, "This is wrong, brother. You know that it is wrong. Return her." And then he armed himself anyway. "Because she is my family's error," he said, "and I am my family's arm. Let the debt be mine too." He went out through the gates like a walking hill, and he kept his appointment with the tide, and even his enemies, the poem says, honored him as he fell a being who knew better, and stayed loyal past knowing. The sea received him, the island shook, and went quiet. Then there was no one left to send, and the king of Lanka, who had buried his captains, his son, and his brother, came out himself at last, through the great gate, In the black and gold of his splendor, Ravana of the 10 crowns.